Next we have Dr. Toeffler and Dr. Tom Owens.
Hi, I'm Dr. William Toeffler. I'm a professor of family medicine, and for 27 years I've worked at OHSU teaching residents, medical students, doing research, and caring for patients. My wife and I support the Portland Public Schools with our property taxes. I speak in support of Mr. Bill Diss, who has the integrity to risk his livelihood in the best interest of his students. As I understand it, representatives of Planned Parenthood sought to interrupt his mathematics tutoring in order to talk to students about sex education. As a physician educator who teaches about behavioral interventions and has given national presentations on the topic of sex education, what does and doesn't work, such interventions by Planned Parenthood are at best ineffective and at worst harmful. Why is this? Let me explicitly share some of the few messages that I looked at with just 2 clicks on the Planned Parenthood website entitled Information for Teens. Quote, mutual masturbation is also a great way to have safer sex and to prevent unwanted pregnancy, end quote. And this about the advantages of, quote, outer course, end quote. End quote. Outer course can completely satisfy both partners. Outer course helps partner learn about their bodies and how to give themselves and each other sexual pleasure. Really? Outer course completely satisfies and won't lead to intercourse? To be clear, I'm not opposed to sex education. In fact, for more than 15 years, I've been invited to teach an annual father-son program where I share information with young adolescents with their fathers present. We cover science and sexual intimacy and procreation. At the same time, the emphasis is on responsibility, respect, and commitment. Responsibility for your actions and their inevitable consequences. Most importantly, I emphasize the need to fully respect all women, the complexity of our bodies, and their unique role and capacity to bring forth new life, and the need for commitment before openness to sexual intimacy. At the same time, only 5 days ago, the Oregonian reported that Oregon has the 4th worst graduation rate in the nation. In the area of science, only 60% of Portland 11th graders are meeting standards. While these poor performance problems are multifactorial, one of the solutions is to provide exactly the kind of tutoring in science and mathematics that Mr. Diss does so well. On the other hand, what merit is there to intrude on Mr. Diss's time to instead teach the titillating details of masturbation? Has teaching teens about sexual stimulation become more important than teaching about science? I hope not. Planned Parenthood tactics have not been a part of the incremental success, both in our nation and state, in lowering teenage pregnancy and abortion rates. Finally, I also believe in diversity. The diversity of talented educators, some of whom may share my concerns and some of whom may not. So I ask each of you, do you also believe in diversity? Will you allow a committed, talented, and an award-winning teacher to maintain his integrity? Will you protect his right of conscience? I sincerely hope so. I hope so because Mr. Diss is exactly the kind of teacher that I would want for my children, not only because of his talents, but most importantly because of his role modeling. In short, Mr. Diss has demonstrated the capacity to follow the courage of his convictions. In so doing, he's providing a priceless lesson, not just for his students, but for the entire Portland community. Thanks for your help.
My name is Tom Owens, O-W-E-N-S. I'm a retired educator who taught in public schools at the middle school, high school, and college level. I've also worked as an educational researcher in the Portland area for over 25 years. I've served as a school board member and hold a PhD in education from The Ohio State University. I'd like to share with you today some of my concerns about the involvement of Planned Parenthood with the Teen Outreach Program and the Community Voice Program being used in several schools in the Portland School District. My concerns center around 3 areas. First, the emphasis of Planned Parenthood on casual sexual behaviors as separated from the emotional aspects of a committed relationship. Second, the disrespect shown toward young people who may prefer to abstain from sexual behavior before marriage. And third, the emphasis for pregnant teens on the option of abortion with minimum attention to parenting or adoption. Recently, I checked out the Planned Parenthood website and viewed some of the videos involving young people in the section marked, "Be the Smart Person in Bed." I was disturbed by the images, songs, and messages approving of young people having free and unlimited sex without considering the responsibilities that go with such actions. The only responsibilities mentioned were for teens to use condoms and check for sexually transmitted disease. Similar Planned Parenthood videos, such as Taking Care Down There, make fun of young people who choose to abstain from engaging in sexual behavior based on their own personal moral values or perhaps those of their families. This disrespect for such students and their families, I feel, should not be tolerated in our schools. The Planned Parenthood website also places a much heavier emphasis on abortion as the first of 3 options for unplanned pregnancies, followed by adoption and parenting. For example, under parenting, the questions they suggest students ask themselves are primarily negative, such as, am I ready to cope with a tighter budget, less time for myself, and more stress? In summary, I feel the participation of Planned Parenthood in the Teen Outreach Program and the Youth Community Voice Program at Benson and other high schools distorts the meaning of true loving commitments and encourages our youth to regard sex as only an enjoyable pastime. I therefore recommend that the school board carefully review the involvement of Planned Parenthood and not renew the contract to participate beyond this year. I believe a number of people here in the audience would support such a recommendation.
Burke Sivers.
I'm Lori Porter, co-founder of Parents' Rights in Education. I have an MAT in Education. And the debate about Wyman Taught program is national. This book, You're Teaching My Child What? By Miriam Grossman will give you a quick read on what is happening across the country, not just Portland. It doesn't matter if you're pro or against comprehensive sex education or you're pro-choice, pro-life, the bottom line is parents' rights. In this top program, are they truly being appropriate? Are they really having best practice? And who gets to prove that? And will it really increase academic success? And where are the evidences of that? TOP claims that the program reduces the risk of teen pregnancy or fathering by 53%, 62% reduction in the risk of school suspension, and 60% reduction in the risk of course failure. Really? I've been an educator for 22 years. I have not seen a program that's that successful. And by the way, that report was done by someone affiliated with Planned Parenthood, so go figure, conflict of interest. The Northwest Coalition of Adolescent Health is comprised of 6 Planned Parenthood affiliates. So there's 6 states in the area that are affiliated with Wyman Taught program. There's evidence, quote, evidence, expert advice that I'll share with you here in a bit because I don't have time to read it all. But one of the sources is the Oregon Youth Sexual Health Plan. That is a plan, it's not law. And in that, it advocates 18 years or younger having access to emergency contraception, gynecological exams, etc. Go Ask Alice is a website that Planned Parenthood advises or advocates for young people to take a look at. Here are some of the topics: contraception, erotica, pornography, masturbation, tools and toys. You can figure that one out. Is eating feces safe? Breastfeeding my partner, yearning to drink my urine. Also, emergency contraception is there as well, a hotline. In addition, Scarlettine also advises kids how to get emergency contraception without parental notification. Take Care down there, you go to their website. I suggest that you do, and I'll give you the information about that. Quickly on the front page, horse penis virus. Bring your sister. I didn't spew. It was really embarrassing for me to say this in front of precious children. I hope it makes you uncomfortable. It makes me terribly uncomfortable. But the point is, this is stuff that our youth are able to access and are encouraged through the TALK program, through Planned Parenthood.
Hey, thank you. My name is Harold Burke Sivers. I'm President and CEO of Servant Enterprises here in Portland. And first of all, I'd like to just thank you for your service on the board. I myself served as the chair of the board for the Department of Public Safety Standards and Training under Governor Kitzhaber and Kulongoski. And so I know that to do this type of job, you have to have a heart and a love for children and their education. What disturbs me about this program, whether it's Planned Parenthood or who, is just the idea that the reason you're hearing some of these things, they're encouraging behavior that many of us parents, and I have 4 young children myself, find offensive. And the reason why they promote that is that, you know, the ultimate end is abortion. I mean, when you look at the schools that they're in, Jefferson, Benson, Roosevelt, Madison have the highest minority rates of the schools in Portland. And just a couple of things about abortion in the black community. Again, these are numbers from the Center for Disease Control. Since 1993, legal abortion has killed more black Americans than AIDS, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and violent crime combined. Every week, more blacks die in American abortion clinics than were killed in the entire Vietnam War. Abortion kills as many black people every 4 days than the Ku Klux Klan killed in 150 years. So, you know, but what no one's done so far is to bring you alternatives. One I would like to present is from Northwest Family Services. I serve as chair of the board, and they have wonderful programs that are holistic. They look at developing the entire child, adolescence, and they're having tremendous results and success in some schools in Portland and throughout Clackamas County as well. They focus on the many strengths that our youth possess, and they give them the equipment, the skills, support, the motivation to navigate and succeed through adulthood. They teach them about alcohol, drug use, risky sexual behaviors, gang involvement, all those kinds of things that we parents want to make sure that we steer our kids clear from. I mean, for the approach that is being taken now, for example, we don't want our kids to do drugs. We wouldn't say, well, let's give you, you're going to do it anyway, so let's just give you drugs, so you're going to do it anyway. Or we want you to smoke. Well, we'll give you cigarettes because we know you're going to do it anyway. So why would we say we don't want you to have sex, but we're going to give you condoms and have a program because you're going to do it anyway? Just as a parent, it just doesn't make sense. So I just wanted to, again, present an alternative program that I think would not be offensive to anyone here, that really accomplishes the goals that I think all of us want to see with our children. And I just want to thank you again for your service to this community. Thank you.
Thank you all for your testimony. We are going to move on the agenda. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be asking the folks in the front row if they please allow for folks from